Hi, welcome back to the next video snippet from Bedagiskwedawajokzeloumsen, A Dragon's Journey, the video novel. Today we're going to read the second part of chapter 6. And so, if you're ready, here we go. It took hours longer. Leighton swam and Beda flew first along the Shetland coast, and then to Yell, and then to Unst, and then finally arrived at Muckleflugga. Waiting for them on the crest of the rocky southern islet, where later others would gather, was a tall, terrible beauty of a Scottish dragon who had just, it told the two later, flown away from its blessedly barren Hakose Island. The dragon's only neighbors there were a thriving colony of otters and acres of quiet featherbed bogs where the peat slowly and silently refuses to decay. Leighton introduced the little dragon to a true Scottish laird. Huabasaklaide trin coin a fuar mara dom hain nagus batin a badin tiacho, terrible spawn of Kirin of the deeps of the cold deep sea, and Bethar of the misty mountains, my lord Tarkin. The serpent hissed, bowing its head to the great basilisk. Please honor me and my young friend Bedagiskwedawajokzeloumsen, thunder, fire, mountain, wind, dragon of the mountains of Maine, distant America, by accepting our obeisance and friendship. The great Scottish worm towered over both Beda and Leighton, but bowed to them both before it said, in a low voice that shook the rocks around them, "Please call me Cho. My friends, I am eager for this evening's session to renew my friendship with serpents of the great ocean and other dragons from far-off lands." The three talked together for a while longer, and Cho explained that the session would take place in the southern rocks and cliffs so that the monster's revels would be unobserved. There is a human presence at the northern point of Muckleflugga, an automated weather station and lighthouse, it explained. This large, steep-sided island, as the Norsemen called it, is otherwise ours. Half a mile north of the lighthouse is Utsta, the most northern point of the land of Scotland, but that stack is often awash with seawater and uncomfortable for an evening's entertainment and musicking. But here, it gestured, is another fine ring of rocks and a steep cliff to hide us, a comfortable and perfect place for the serpents and the dragons of the Shetlands to gather. The humans explained the origin of these rocky little islands by telling that two giants, Saxa and his friend Herma, both fell in love with the same mermaid, Muckleflugga, and nearby Outstack were formed when they threw great stones at one another to get the lady's attention. The largest stone that they tossed was Muckleflugge, as they called it, but the mermaid was like every other mermaid I've met, beautiful, shrewd, and deceitful. She offered to marry whichever one would leave his life behind and follow her wherever she would go. They were giants, very strong but not very bright, so they agreed. She led them north toward the ice of the pole, and they followed her. As strong but not as bright men have always followed beautiful women. Neither of the giants could swim, but neither would admit their weakness to the other, or to the woman who had captured his heart. Both of the giants drowned as the mermaid watched. The mermaid found another lover, one who could swim. By the time the Cho had finished its story, other serpents had begun to arrive. The Scottish dragon turned its head from side to side, welcoming each guest, each great beast, in the crowd with its silent gaze. The rocks that faced the cliff filled with ocean vipers and more than a few other dragons. Finally, Cho nodded, and the session began.